bondi beto ya udamni.
Making headlines this hour. The President's Office formally invites applications for membership on 3 newly constituted advisory committees established to provide technical guidance and consultation to the government on 3 of the nation's principal economic domains. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abdullah Khalil, says that Australia plays a pivotal role in the Maldives' social and economic progress. And ECM formally urges to expedite the issuance of the required presidential decree authorizing the referendum at the earliest after the passage of the proposed legislative amendments to merge the nation's presidential and parliamentary elections. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. Now the news in detail. The President's Office formally invites applications for membership on 3 newly constituted advisory committees established to provide technical guidance and consultation to the government on 3 of the nation's principal economic domains. In its announcement, the President's Office said the initiative is intended to promote sustainable development and strengthen the long-term advancement of critical industries. The committees include the Tourism Sector Advisory Committee, the Construction Sector Advisory Committee, and the Fisheries Sector Advisory Committee. The Fisheries Committee will also oversee the development of mariculture sector. The administration has specified that the application window is now open and will close at precisely 12 p.m. on Monday on the 16th of February 2026. Submissions will be accepted on official working days between 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. To facilitate the process, the President's Office confirmed that application forms are available for collection at its reception desk and may also be downloaded from the office's official website. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abdullah Khalil, says that Australia plays a pivotal role in the Maldives' social and economic progress. Addressing attendees at the opening of a photo exhibition hosted by the Australian High Commission in the Maldives to commemorate Australia Day, Minister Khalil highlighted the long-standing bilateral ties between the two nations, rooted in mutual respect and shared aspirations for peace and prosperity. Reflecting on recent diplomatic engagements, Minister Khalil noted that high-level dialogues and defense policy discussions have elevated bilateral relations to new heights. He expressed optimism that continued cooperation would further align the priorities of both nations in the coming years. Concluding his remarks, the minister extended warm National Day greetings to Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and the people of Australia. He also commended the Australian Ministry of Foreign Affairs for its enduring partnership with the Maldives and praised the Australian High Commission in Maldives for organizing events that foster cultural and diplomatic ties between the two nations. To mark Australia Day 2026, the Australian High Commission in the Maldives opens a photography exhibition in the capital that underscores the historical presence and social integration of Muslims in Australia. The exhibition Boundless Plains, the Australian Muslim Connection, brings to the National Art Gallery a curated collection of photographs from Melbourne. The images trace the history of Muslims in Australia and reflect the community's enduring ties to the wider Australian society. Inside the gallery, the walls have been arranged to display an extensive series of photographs, each accompanied by descriptive text to ensure accessibility for visitors. The opening ceremony also introduced a book of the same title, Boundless Plains, which documents the lives of Australian Muslims, their mosques, and their cultural practices. Dr. Abdullah Khalil, Minister of Foreign Affairs, presided over the ceremony as guest of honor. In his remarks, he highlighted the exhibition's role in strengthening international bonds, noting that it would bring Maldivians closer to Muslims living in Australia and foster a sense of fraternity. He praised the initiative and welcomed the effort led by the Australian High Commission. The exhibition will remain open to the public at the National Art Gallery from the 2nd of February through the 5th of February 2026. In a statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Maldivian government denounced the attack, which took place on the 31st of January in Balochistan province of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, describing it as an act of terrorism and criminal violence. The statement reiterated Maldives' firm opposition to all forms of terrorism and violent extremism, regardless of where they occur, and emphasized the country's commitment to peace and international security. The government also expressed its deepest condolences to the families of those who lost their lives in the attack and extended solidarity to the government and people of Pakistan during what it described as a time of profound grief. The Maldives further wished a swift and full recovery to those injured, reaffirming its support for Pakistan in the face of such acts of violence. The Elections Commission of Maldives, or ECM, confirms that 2,993 candidates will contest the Local Council and Women's Development Committee, or WDC, elections scheduled for the 4th of April. A total of 3,547 applications were submitted before the deadline through the Commission's portal. After review, 1,610 candidates were approved to run for council seats, while 1,383 were cleared to contest positions on women's development committees. The application process opened on the 17th of January, with submissions examined and applicants notified of their status. ECM officials underscored that the figures released are final unless a candidate withdraws or a court order requires the acceptance of a previously rejected application. Disqualifications were attributed to administrative shortcomings. The Commission cited failures to provide lifetime criminal and debt records, as well as the absence of mandatory clearances from the Maldives Correctional Service. The April polls will fill hundreds of administrative posts across the country. Voters are set to elect 626 island councillors and 52 city councillors, along with an equivalent number of representatives for the women's committees. The scale of the exercise is considerable, requiring the finalization of nearly 3,000 candidacies from the initial pool of applicants. According to the Commission, 294,937 individuals are eligible to vote in this cycle. The electorate is almost evenly divided, comprising 150,410 men and 144,527 women. The Election Commission of Maldives, or ECM, formally urges to expedite the issuance of the required presidential decree authorizing the referendum at the earliest after the passage of the proposed legislative amendments to merge the nation's presidential and parliamentary elections. In a detailed briefing to the Parliamentary Independent Institutions Committee reviewing the government-proposed constitutional amendment, ECM Chairman Mohammad Zahid emphasized the urgency of initiating the referendum process, citing legal timelines and the need for comprehensive public awareness. Under current law, a minimum of 45 days must elapse between the announcement of a referendum and the voting date, Zahid noted, underscoring that administrative preparations are already in place to conduct the vote concurrently with the upcoming local council elections scheduled for early April. Zahid stressed the transformative impact of merging the two national elections, calling it a pivotal moment for Maldives' democratic landscape. To ensure informed public participation, the ECM is preparing an extensive public awareness campaign set to launch as soon as parliamentary debate on the constitutional amendment begins. He explained, additionally, election officials are undergoing specialized training to manage the logistical and procedural complexities of a combined electoral event. The ECM estimates that holding a standalone referendum would cost between $3.9 million and $5.2 million. However, conducting the vote alongside the April local council elections would cost only $1.3 million for the referendum component, a comparatively efficient use of resources that would streamline the electoral process. The ECM chairman reiterated that early action by the government, specifically the prompt passage of the constitutional amendment and the subsequent issuance of the presidential decree, is critical to meeting constitutional deadlines to hold the referendum and ensuring transparency. Prosecutor General Justice retired Ustaz Abbas Sharif meets with a delegation from the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism, or UNOCT, to discuss strengthening cooperation in counterterrorism efforts and developing a work plan for technical assistance and training in the Maldives. According to the Prosecutor General's office, the meeting focused on enhancing collaboration with UNOCT, particularly in areas related to capacity building and technical support. Discussions included the development of a structured work plan to support training and technical assistance aimed at strengthening the Maldives criminal justice system in the investigation and prosecution of terrorism-related cases. The Prosecutor General's office said it would provide technical assistance and cooperation to the UNOCT delegation in formulating the work plan, describing the engagement as an important step towards enhancing institutional capacity. The meeting forms part of the Prosecutor General's office's ongoing efforts to ensure national security and public safety through collaboration with international organizations, while also strengthening the professional skills and expertise of prosecutors. The National Disaster Management Authority, or NDMA, and the Ministry of Cities, Local Government and Public Works signed a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, to jointly implement the Tsunami Ready program. Permanent Secretary Mumina Wahid signed on behalf of the ministry, while NDMA Chief Executive Hisan Hassan signed for the authority. According to the ministry, the MOU aims to strengthen cooperation between the two institutions in implementing the UNESCO IOC Tsunami Ready program. The agreement follows discussions held between the ministry and NDMA on the 10th of December last year, focused on enhancing national tsunami preparedness. Under the MOU, the ministry will support village-level workshops and assist in the development of disaster management plans in cities and provinces. The ministry will also facilitate the formation and training of community-based emergency response teams. The ministry said both institutions will appoint focal points to ensure effective coordination under the agreement. The ministry added that this is expected to accelerate disaster prevention efforts and further strengthen institutional collaboration. According to Managing Director Muhammad Shakil, says the Maldives Hajj Corporation, the state-owned enterprise mandated to facilitate the Hajj and Umrah pilgrimages, has experienced a significant resurgence of public trust over the past 2 years. He attributed the shift to a comprehensive overhaul of service standards, which he said has enabled the corporation to fulfill its founding mandate of delivering the highest quality pilgrimage services. Citizens, he noted, have acknowledged the realization of these objectives. Speaking on a program aired on PSM News, Shakil said the corporation has experienced a marked increase in public confidence in its operations. Despite the presence of numerous private companies offering Umrah services in the country, he observed that a substantial share of the public now chooses the state corporation irrespective of price, prioritizing the superior quality of service provided. Upon assuming leadership, Shakil identified the elevation of service standards as his foremost objective, ensuring the corporation remained true to its original purpose. The services now offered by the Hajj Corporation have earned public reliance and are increasingly regarded as a benchmark for other operators in the sector. Shakil described his vision of the corporation as an industry leader rather than a competitor merely keeping pace with the market. He pointed to logistical improvements that have reshaped operational norms across the sector. The managing director stressed that the corporation has succeeded in enhancing service quality manifold without increasing the costs borne by the public. He suggested that previous administrations had the opportunity to implement similar improvements but failed to do so, attributing this stagnation to a lack of sincerity among former leadership figures regarding the provision of services. Looking ahead to the current pilgrimage season, Shakil confirmed that comprehensive arrangements are in place to ensure that all individuals undertaking Hajj and Umrah through the corporation this year will receive high-quality care and support. Insights into international business affairs. South Korean shares slumps more than 5% to post their biggest drop in 10 months on a margin call spurred by heightened volatility in precious metals following U.S. President Donald Trump's choice of the next chair of the Federal Reserve. The benchmark Kospi closed 274.69 points or 5.26% lower at 4,949.67, marking its biggest daily percentage loss since April 7, 2025. During the session, a so-called sidecar trading curve was activated for the first time in 3 months to curb sharp losses. Monday's drop came after the Kospi rose 24% in January, posting its biggest monthly gain since December 1998 and ending the month at a record high in an artificial intelligence-led chipmaker rally. In 2025, it rose 76%, the biggest since 1999. Update on world events. The province's chief minister said Pakistani security forces kills 145 militants in a 40-hour battle launched as a series of coordinated gun and bomb attacks across Balochistan left nearly 50 people dead. Authorities in the southwestern province are battling one of the deadliest flare-ups in years as insurgents in the resource-rich province bordering Iran and Afghanistan step up assaults on security forces, civilians, and infrastructure. The banned separatist group, Baloch Liberation Army, claimed responsibility for the attacks, saying it had launched a coordinated operation dubbed Heraf or Black Storm, targeting security forces across the province. In Quetta, the provincial capital, the aftermath was visible in burnt-out vehicles at a police station, bullet-riddled doors and streets sealed off with yellow tape as security forces tightened patrols and restricted movement following the attacks. Chief Minister of Balochistan, Sarfraz Bukti, said 17 law enforcement personnel and 31 civilians were killed in the militant attacks. Pakistan's military said 92 militants were killed on Saturday, while 41 were killed on Friday. Officials said the militant assaults were launched almost simultaneously across Quetta, Gwadar, Mastung and Noshki districts, with armed men opening fire at security installations, including a Frontier Corps headquarters, attempting suicide bombings and briefly blocking roads in urban areas, prompting large-scale counter-operations by the army, police, and counter-terrorism counterterrorism units. Outside a damaged bank, private security guard Jamil Ahmad Mashwani said attackers struck shortly after midday. Balochistan, Pakistan's largest and poorest province, has faced a decades-long insurgency led by ethnic Baloch separatists seeking greater autonomy and a larger share of its natural resources. The group claimed it had killed 84 members of Pakistan's security forces and captured 18 others. Reuters could not independently verify the claim. The military did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Pakistan has faced periodic attacks by Islamist militants elsewhere in the country, including factions linked to the Pakistani Taliban. Moving on to sports, Arsenal defeats Corinthians 3-2 to lift the inaugural Women's Champions Cup, courtesy of an extra time winner from Caitlin Ford. The European champions took the lead 15 minutes in through Olivia Smith, but the Brazilians responded just 6 minutes later with Gabi Zanotti forcing the ball over the line from a scrappy corner. Defender Latin Wubenmoy restored the Gunners' lead 2 minutes shy of the hour mark, and they held on until the 6th minute of stoppage time when Vic Albuquerque equalized from the penalty spot to force extra time. The inaugural edition of Champions Cup began in October 2025 and featured the champions from 6 continents. It will be held 3 out of every 4 years, similar to the Men's Intercontinental Cup, as a stand-in for the years without a Club World Cup. Concluding with news and entertainment, spectacular aircraft acrobatics filled Singapore's skies during a media preview of Asia's premier aviation event, which is poised to showcase planes, parts, and weapons as the industry juggles growing demand for air travel with geopolitical challenges and chronic supply constraints. Next week's biennial Singapore Air Show comes as the Southeast Asian city-state and neighboring countries ponder China's continued arms buildup in the region while looking over their shoulder at an increasingly isolationist United States. The February 3rd to 8th event, Asia's largest air show, is expected to attract more than 1,000 companies, including aircraft manufacturers, airlines, arms firms, and military delegations from around the world. The show also comes at a pivotal moment for the global civil aviation sector. Airlines are working to solidify their post-pandemic recoveries and expanding fleets, while manufacturers continue to grapple with lingering supply chain bottlenecks and trade restrictions. And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.